It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs, and there you were.
Good morning and welcome once again to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan.
And I'm Tony Crockett. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, Tony. We've got a lot of stories that we're tracking for you around the country today on the show. We have one that's coming out of Colorado, and this really caught our attention. The headline said that the HOA removes a wheelchair ramp and says if you need help to the handicapped, firefighters will rescue you. Boy, that seemed really just stuck out there. And, we got
those hard-hearted, uncaring HOAs.
But you know what? I don't know that this is necessarily true. I think we're going to be able to get to, as Paul Harvey says, the other side of the story here. You know, we also have a legislator in Connecticut who's making the claim to have the answer to resolving most of all disputes in an HOA.
Hallelujah! Finally,
yes. Well,
somebody has it.
Well, we'll see if he has the answers, and we want to see what you think about that. In Maryland, they've passed a measure requiring individual owners in HOAs to have insurance. Is that a good idea? What do you think about that? And then, as we get into the second hour, we all know that it's important to when you're putting your home on the market for sale. It's good to have the home staged. Things need to be remodeled and good, well maintained. But forget all of that. If you live in an association, one of the most important things that you can do to sell your home might be in funding your reserves. And we're going to talk about that and what's involved with funding reserves. But as always, it is now time for Property Management in the News. And Property Management in the News is brought to you by Pest Control Services. When you need to get rid of unwanted pests in your home or rental property, call someone who's responsive, professional, and a proud member of Angie's List. Give owner Greg Keener a call at 952-894-9748. That's Pest Control Services. Tell Greg you heard his ad on Where You Live. Tony?
Our story today comes from the Fox affiliate in Denver, Colorado, KDVR-TV, and it was reported by Heidi Hammett, the investigative reporter for that channel, on May 11th. Dateline is Aurora, Colorado. A fight over a wheelchair ramp is pitting neighbor against neighbor at an Aurora condo complex. 69-year-old Charlotte Vale rented the ramps with her own money after the elevator at the Baybury condo complex broke down. Quote, because I can't get in and out of the building, she said. Charlotte says she asked the HOA for permission to install the ramp, but the board didn't get back to her right away. Once the ramp was installed, the HOA promptly took it down. A board member told Charlotte the building does not have to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act because it was built before the law took effect. Charlotte called the Aurora Fire Department and they put the ramp back up. But the HOA is now refusing to make the second and third floors accessible to several other disabled people who live there. Kathy Fort's also a disabled vet, and she lives on the second floor. She told Fox 31 Denver, I feel like I'm a prisoner in my own home. Fox 31 contacted the Baybury Condo Association president and was referred to the president of the property management company. Linda Reifman said the board took the ramp down because they wanted the opportunity to review Charlotte's request before she put it up. And when we asked Reifman what would happen to the other disabled if there were a fire in the building, she said, the fire department will get them out. That's their job. Still, the disabled residents say they would like the HOA to provide a way for them to save themselves. This building was built in 1981, and the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, took effect in 1991. But the Fair Housing Act says you have to make, quote, reasonable accommodations, unquote, for the disabled. Reifman says the HOA believes they are doing that.
This was one of those articles that just really stands out, doesn't
Well,
it,
the
Tony?
first time I read it, I thought, well, of course they have to comply with the Americans with Disability Act, and of course they have to comply with fair housing. And what's wrong with disabled people wanting to be able to get out of a burning building?
But as we so well know on this show,
yeah,
there is another side of the story.
No.
Yes, there is.
Oh, how could there be?
Sometimes it's hard to imagine that the media might have their own agenda in just wanting to make something a little bit more salacious to sell a little bit more news.
Yeah.
But I think some of that may be going on. And to get behind the story, because a lot of times on property management in the news, Tony and I read a story and we always want to know what's going
That's
on.
right. What is the other side and what really happened?
Exactly.
And a lot of times we're just surmising what might possibly have happened.
And because of that, we are really pleased and happy to have on the phone with us this morning from Colorado, the president of Colorado Property Management Group, Linda Reifman. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for taking time on your Sunday morning here to be part of the show.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Let's begin. Like I said, and begin here in our opening monologue here. When you first read a story like this, it sounds just unbelievable. But as we started talking just the other day, there is a completely different side of the story that the media just wasn't reported. Can you help our listeners out and fill in where the media left out?
Certainly, and of course there's two sides to every story.
Yeah.
And, I'm starting my 18th year now with Colorado Property Management Group here in the Metro Denver area. And I'm also co-owner. About 11 years ago, my business partner and myself bought the company from the former owner. And both of us work in the business on a day-to-day basis, so we're right there in the trenches, as they say. I myself have a portfolio of community associations that I manage, as does my other 4 managers, and my business partner, he is the CFO and works with the finance staff and prepares the financial statements, that sort of thing for our associations. And this is, from time to time as proactive and as preventive maintenance and everything that we try to do for our associations through, of course, the direction of our boards of directors, and we manage 48 associations of all shapes and sizes, including a 13-story high-rise. This particular association has, I think, 6 buildings. It's not one that I manage day-to-day, 6 condominiums, and they're each one has an elevator. So from time to
I was just saying, Linda, so why wouldn't the Homeowners Association let Charlotte Vale install a ramp?
Well, there's much before that, though. The elevator itself had a major failure. This wasn't something that could be planned for. In other words, a month from now, make arrangements. We're going to take the elevator down for 4 to 6 weeks. It was a sudden, imminent failure, and the elevator went down. The board of directors, and remember, this boards of directors are volunteers. They're homeowners. They're neighbors with everyone in the community there, and the board. The board took instant action to go ahead and approve the repair, which will be taken out of their reserve account. They met with the homeowners in that building, the residents in that building, and said, "Look, we need to come up with a game plan here. You're going to recruit a team of volunteers, your neighbors. One of the board members herself goes over once a week and helps." There was on the news clip, which I didn't see, by the way, or I still haven't seen it, helps this particular person. She's on the 2nd floor, I believe, goes upstairs, gets her, brings her downstairs, or helps her. She can walk. Walks her downstairs, takes her in the board member's car, shopping, doctor's appointments, gets her back home, carries things up. And they made those kinds of arrangements.
So that a neighbor could help each person with a disability evacuate the building if they needed to.
No. No, this is just for routine kinds of things, and they didn't even necessarily have to be disabled. Bringing up going up 4 flights or 3 flights.
I see.
For groceries. So they were just working as a team of volunteers. No,
I see. Okay.
So if I could, excuse me, Linda.
Emergency. Go ahead.
So excuse me, if I could interrupt here. So what we're talking about here is, everything was fine in the association. Everybody that may have been elderly or handicapped may have had some difficulty. Were fine with the access, that they had in and out of the building until the elevator went down, which of course is a major inconvenience.
Absolutely.
For everyone.
So nobody,
sure.
so this wasn't planned. It was unexpected. Now you, as the property management company, you jump into place with a plan of action.
Yes.
You tell some of the people who have difficulty and live on higher floors that they may need to make other arrangements while you're now trying to scramble to get this repaired.
Is that what happened?
What the board of directors took it on themselves to meet with this group of residents.
Uh-huh.
They did a number of things, and then of course we did as well.
Uh-huh.
We placed handicap signs all along the front of that building, right up to the building, so that those who needed to park their cars right there could just come out from the first floor, come down the steps, and get into their cars, because there's an underground garage. So their cars would be, we made spaces designated for them for their cars.
Okay.
Miss Vale lives on the first floor, so her I won't say only, but her major inconvenience would be getting down to the parking garage. So she needed to come out the front door and down the steps.
Okay, because otherwise she would she's on the first floor. She can go in and out the main doors unless she wanted to go to her car. Then she would need the elevator. But then you made accommodations. She could park her car right outside the front door.
Well, not just her, but any
Sure.
of the handicapped persons. So what she did during this informal, let's see how we can help you meeting that they had.
Uh-huh.
She asked the board if they would put a ramp down the front. The board said, yes, we will, but give us an opportunity to check cost, liability, insurance,
right.
That seems reasonable. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. There's the word reasonable. But she didn't. And so I can tell you, I know this board of 4 homeowners, and this board is a supportive, one of our most, and this is a non-business-like word, because after all, these boards of directors, as you know, Gene and Tony, are running sometimes, multi-$100,000
yes.
not-for-profit corporations.
That's right.
But this board is particularly, how shall I say, sensitive to balancing the homeowners' needs with the, with their day-to-day operation
Sure.
and their budgets. But they said they would. Miss Vale didn't give them that opportunity.
Excuse
see.
me, Linda,
I
we
see.
have to take a quick break. Can you stay with us just one more segment to finish up? That would be great. Folks, we're talking about what took place in Colorado this last week with a wheelchair ramp and talking about what is a reasonable accommodation. And we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot.